Good evening and welcome to the 12th episode for the Kcca Fc Tv show. And in this particular one, we have plenty of stuff. Yes, you heard me right. I said the 12th episode of the Kcca Fc Tv show. And in this one, we have a guest that is Mike Mutyaba, who will not be continuing with playing football. He's been a player at Kcca Fc for the past 2 years, and he had a running contract to just complete his third year. He will not be continuing with Kcca Fc. Why won't he be continuing with the club? We are getting to know everything on this show. We are also walking down memory lane with Mr. himself, that is Bidandi Ssali, and he's going to be telling us about how things were done in the past. What can we learn from that generation? We have winners on this particular show that is from the social media trivia, and this was an interesting one because we asked them a very good question that we're going to be getting to know later in the show. What question was it? And then also we have the fan zone where we asked the fans, is football ready to resume even with the available standard operating procedures? We have mixed reactions from the fans, just like as usual. It's going to be a roller coaster of a show, a plethora of stuff on this show. My name is Magero Moses Mwanje and I'm your host. Let's walk this journey together. And to start it off this week with the club news, and as much as the club is signing players, the club has got to balance its books and also release some players, and also some of the players have run down their contracts. And just to tell you officially, Jamil Maliamungu has run down his contract at Kcca Fc and will not be continuing as a goalkeeper. He's been at the club for some good time, played with goalkeepers like Benjamin Ochan, played with Charles Lukwago, and very many other goalkeepers. And he recently ran down his contract. He will not be continuing as a goalkeeper at the club. We want to wish him the very best in his career and also thank him for the memories and the service he's offered at Kcca Fc. That is Mr. Jamil Maliamungu. All the best in your future endeavors. And the other player who has run down his contract is Mr. Erisa Sekisambu, and he will not be continuing with Kcca Fc. We want to wish him the very best. Erisa joined Kcca Fc in 2019. And he's been playing as a winger and sometimes as a forward. Very good player. And his contract has been run down. The club opted not to renew, and he also opted not to stay at the club. And we want to wish him the very best in his future endeavors. We know he's going to do tremendous work wherever he's gone. We want to thank him for the memories and the service he's rendered at the football club. And we trust he's going to blossom wherever he goes. Now for the social media trivia for this week, we had a question asked, and the question said, Kcca Fc has coaches. Name all these coaches and their roles. Yes, you say you're diehard for the football club. Do you know all your coaches at Kcca Fc and what they do? And the lucky person was to win a Kcca Fc jersey on the Kcca Fc TV show that is on Sanyuka TV, Sunday 10 p.m. That is, and it was valid until the 20th of August, that is 2020 at 10 a.m. We have winners on this show, and we will start with Twitter. And on Twitter, we had Jingo Benjamin, who said, Kcca Fc has 6 in total, and he said Mike, Hilary Mutebi, Biekwa Somoli, Kadu Badru, Chiwanuka Daniel, Magera Jackson, and Malinga Richard. Well, he failed because he said 6 and Kcca Fc has 7 coaches. He forgot Robert Kawiye, who's one of the assistant coaches. Hosea Mutanda says there are 5 coaches. He says Mike Mutebi, Mole Biekwa, Jackson, Magera, Badru Kadu, and Daniel Chiwanuka. This one forgot 2. That is Richard Malinga and Robert Kabuye. Yes. And then Cephas Tendereza says Mike Mutebi, Mole Biekwaso, Badru Kadu, Daniel Kiwanuka, Jackson Magera, Richard Malinga, and Robert Kabuye. And he says Kcca Fc has 7 coaches in total. Congratulations, Mr. Cephas Tendereza. And he had the best answer, and we say congratulations to Mr. Cephas Tendereza. You had the best answer on Twitter, and you'll be receiving your jersey next week. That is the green jersey, the third kit for Kcca Fc in the 2019-2020 season. So all the best. And then on Facebook, we still had people who replied to this question. You've already had the question, so we'll start with Katwere Enoch. He says, Mutebi Hilary, Mike, Biekwa Somoli, Kadu, Badru, Magera Jackson, Chiwanuka Daniel. This one only mentioned 5. The club has 7 coaches, people. And then Mutebi Alan, he says 7. Mike Mutebi, Mole Biekwaso, Badru Kadu, Jackson Magera, Richard Malinga, Kabuye Robert, and Daniel Chiwanuka. And then lastly, Lawrence E. Monique on Facebook says Mike Hilary Mutebi as a manager, Jackson Magera under 17 coach, Mole Biekwaso assistant manager, Badru Kadu as trainer, and Daniel Chiwanuka as goalkeeper. She only mentioned 5 people yet Kcca FC has 7 coaches. So the best answer was by Mutyaba Alan, who said 7 coaches and mentioned all their names and their roles. So congratulations, Mr. Mutyaba Alan. You're the winner on Facebook for this week's social media trivia, and you'll be receiving your green jersey. That is next week. That's the 2019-2020 kit for Kcca FC. So the best answer we had for Facebook was Mr. Mutyaba Alan, who mentioned the 7 coaches, all with their roles, and we say congratulations, Mr. Mutyaba Alan. You're the winner for Facebook on our social media trivia for this week. And yes, you who is there saying you know this club in and out, you're diehard for the football club. Do you know all the 7 coaches for Kcca FC? Do you know their roles? And that has been the social media trivia for this week. We congratulate our winners, and we'll be giving you your jerseys next week. And now this week, we caught up with the fans with an interesting question this time around. And then we asked them, is football ready to resume even with the available standard operating procedures? We have mixed reactions from the fans, and the fans have spoken. This is what happened when we caught up with the Kcca FC fans on this topic exactly.
Hello, my name is Pius Senywaru, a big-time fan of Kcca FC. I am from Wakiso district.
Hello, my name is Naraiso Shakila, aka Tatiana. I come from Makindye, Chizungu, and that is my division.
I am Aloysius Gonzaga, Kcca FC fan. I live in Bina, Nakawa division. I have been a Kcca fan for quite some time.
I don't think football is ready to return in full action with the available SOPs that have been suggested by the ministry. This is because of the mentality of football and the funds and the action that is involved. Should the ministry or FIFA or the government say football should return, I think this will affect the cases of COVID in the country, and the country is not yet ready for the full action to return with football.
We have to accept one thing. We have to accept that these times are hard and they are very unprecedented. We've not seen before, we've never experienced this before, at least for our generation. So it is a hard time for all of us. And it is a really hard time for the clubs than it is for the fans themselves. So, but that put aside, I think that we should be ready to resume the league. Tusobola okutunuulira ku ngeri ebintu gye bisobola okutambulamu. Katugambe, we could maybe have these standard of procedures followed. If we say we are testing the players every week, or we are having players gazetted, that is one of the standards that we can use and follow to have this sweet football come back.
I don't think football is ready to resume as of now. From my own understanding, the standard operating procedures of COVID-19 in Uganda today, if we to follow the FIFA and FUFA standard SOPs for this COVID-19, we cannot resume. Number one reason is our facilities are not yet up to the standards that can do a lot of things that they require us to have. Like, for example, we are required to test these players and the officials of the club every other week. Who is testing these people? Is it the government money or the club money? Most clubs cannot afford that. Maybe my Kcca can afford, but what about our other clubs that we are going to be competing with? I personally don't think we can open up for that reason.
I am not sure if football is ready to come back and get into contests. When you look at the standard operating procedures that may be put up by government, they might request a team to come and make sure their players are tested twice or even once every 2 weeks. That would be a very big expense, knowing how our football is funded, how our sport is funded at large, from the top at National Council of Sports, then till the lowest level at club level. I don't think we are so ready to come back, but in a situation where they feel we are ready to come back, are we ready to give up that minimum standard operating procedures that can be put up, maybe wearing masks, having players in the same place for quite some time? Maybe you let them go away for like after 1 month, but you give them just a day and then maybe they come back. Even in that period, you are able to test them. That is like once in a month testing. I think in that way, football can be ready to come back. But if they make it so restrictionary, in a way, I don't think it would be easy for clubs to sustain that period.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. As a staunch fan, I feel like the team needs us more than ever. Although we can't be there in the pitch to support our teams, there's something we can still do as fans. We can still go ahead and stream these matches, go ahead and pay and watch these matches online, go ahead and support the team in various ways, buy jerseys, buy tickets, to buy merchandise for the team. But there are very many ways we can support as fans. We don't have to necessarily be in the field. We don't have to be there to support the teams, but we can show our love and support from where we can be in a bid to make sure we don't spread the virus.
Currently, transportation is very expensive. Players nowadays in our league, people know this. There are a few who are driving. Now, you're going to see the Junior League, maybe if you're talking about Premier League, but even Premier League, just a few of them are driving. The rest have to take a taxi. The others have to take borders. A border that was taking you to Lugogo to train for 5,000 from where you're coming from, it is now charging double the price, 10,000. Are clubs willing, is my Kcca Fc willing to increase on the transportation allowance that they are giving these players? Or the clubs are going to host these players in hotels because we don't have facilities to make them sleep there. So my question is, do we have the money? I've heard of the COVID-19 relief fund given to FIFA. Is FIFA going to give it to the clubs? Yes, if they do give it to the clubs, are clubs willing to spend it into putting in place the standard operating procedures? For me, I think we are not yet ready. If they put that money there to put things in place, what about our other clubs in Uganda that we are going to be competing with that are still having debts of players, 4 months, they have not been paying them? I'm sure they are looking at this relief fund to be able to pay their debts. Maybe mine has been paying. Of course, that's why I'm happy. I'm a fan for Kcca Fc.
Ngabo tulabera league endala zitambula. We've seen the Premier League, we've seen the Bundesliga run with no fans in the pitch. Tewali bawagizi bawagira. But the leagues are moving on well and everyone is tapping on TV. Katinga engeri je tuli nti tulinawo ne Sanyuka TV, the way it has been good to us, the way it loves Ugandan football, I think we can resume the league. Ne tuberanga guno omupiira tugulabira ku ntimbe za TV. Ne tuberanga tugulabira ku TV era ne tunyumirwa nga bwe kyandisaanye singa tubadde tugulaba live.
In this particular time where the SOPs can come in even when football resumes without funds, I'll be able to support my team through following social media, through buying the merchandise like masks, like buying jerseys for the club, make sure I follow my players both on Star Times, watching the Uganda Premier League, and maybe even the CAF Champions League or even the CAF where we are going to play at the continent. So I think it is not easy given the pandemic, but we shall make sure we follow our players and our team extensively to make sure even we know the players that have come in, how best they can play and how we can continue supporting the club. I think in this particular time, this is the time where the club needs us most as fans to keep supporting the team. I know some teams may be struggling financially. Even Kcca is not an exception in this particular one because they are also a team that plays football both in the world and in Uganda. And as we know, the funding in Uganda, it is not the best always, and it has to come down to the fans to always support our clubs. I will make sure I buy the season tickets in wherever it is, either VVIP or VIP, and I will also be happy with whatever I hear that the club is in preparations to start construction of the stadium as well. I will be the happiest if that comes into play in this particular time. I think in this period, we need to follow the team so extensively, both using social media and TV as well.
To the fans, this has always been a journey, an unprecedented journey. We didn't see these times coming, but they're here. We have to deal with them. It's just a moment, it will pass. we can still continue staying in touch with KCCA on TV, on social media. They've always been there for us. To us, this is just more than a club. It's a passion, it's a culture, so we need to keep supporting our team. Go out and buy the merchandise, go out and support as much as you can. Even if soccer is not yet back in full action, you can still support this team because it's just more than a club. With the players, with the team at KCCA, we are behind your back, we are in full support of everything, and we continue and we promise to abide and be by your side all the time.
And well, you've heard it from the fans. Those are the reactions from the fans, quite mixed reactions, and some of them think football should resume. Others are saying football shouldn't resume because we're not yet ready, or maybe we don't have the facilities. The fans have spoken, and those are their views, and those are the Kcca Fc fans. We'll be going into a break, and when we return, we have an interview with one of our players. He's been a player at Kcca Fc. He's a legend on the Uganda Cranes and also in football in Uganda. He speaks with authority. We'll be getting to know who is this player when we return from this break. Now, welcome back from that break, and just like we told you, we have a guest in studio. He'll be telling us his name, what does he do, and then we'll take it on from there. Sir.
My name is Mike Mutyaba, a former Uganda Cranes player and Kcca Fc.
Wow, you say the key word here is former footballer. So, Mike Mutyaba, for how long have you played football? Just roughly, before we go on with this.
I've played football for quite a long time. But I can't tell like the real years I've played football for. But I began playing when I was a kid. Since I was like 3 years, I began going to training with one of my village coaches called Peter. Up to now, up to the time when I retired from football recently in February. Yeah.
Wow, you mentioned about you retiring from football. Just to mention, what is the reason why you would not be continuing to play football?
I know so many people have been asking why Mutyaba is coming on and going back. But the reason is, this time around, I have health issues that are stopping me from playing football, which I cannot disclose to everyone on TV.
All right, we'll now speak about Kcca Fc. It's been 2 years as an active player at Kcca Football Club. I remember when you walked in at the club in 2018. I myself was like, wow, is he really going to play? I have never doubted the kind of talent you have, because I know you have the talent. But in 2018, when you walked in, you were bigger than this. You were a little bit unfit, but without doubt, the talent was there. What made you return to playing football, because you had retired before?
I met Mujibu and Matia and Jibi Kalule when I was playing futsal. Tournament that was in Munyonyo, and they saw me playing. They said, wow, Mike, you can still give football some more time. Why don't you consider like going back and play football? I said, yeah, let me go to KCC and see what I can do. But I was very fat, you know. I had to cut over 20 kgs so that I can fit into the program of the coach, and which I did. It wasn't easy for me, but I had to do it because I wanted to play again.
Now, the people out there watching know how hard it is to cut kilograms. How were you able to do this? 20 kilograms?
It is one of the hardest things, you know, one can do. I had to be on diet. You know, you eat once, maybe you eat breakfast. You have to go the entire time of the day eating maybe fruits, and you don't have to take sugars and something like that. And then you have to train more than 2 times. You have to train more than 5 hours in a day. You come for morning training at the club, then you wait for evening training. In the nights, you have to go either for load work or you have to go to the gym. You know, it is so hard. But I had to run 10 kilometers every day, maybe every night after the double sessions I was doing with the club. In the night, I had to go to Munyonyo and run up to Kajans every night so that I could cut those 20 kgs and fit in the program of the coach.
Wow, Mike, now you speak about having road work, that is every time in the night, even after the double sessions at Kcca Fc. You can't do that if you don't have self-drive, right? So let's go back to your 2 years at Kcca Fc. Now, in your first year, you're the top scorer for the football club. That was 2018-2019. Led the club to win the 13th Uganda Premier League title, very key figure in that one, I should say. And then also led the club to Kigali and won the Kcca Clubs Cup. And also played in the qualifiers for the CAF Champions League and also the qualifiers for the CAF Confederations Cup in the same year. Wow, how has it been at Kcca Fc in these 2 years?
I would say my entire life, I've never enjoyed playing for any club like I enjoyed playing for Kcca, you know. Kcca is a family, you know. They love each other. They fight and they fight for each other, you know. And I had special relationship with the manager, Mike Mutyaba, and he always inspired me, you know. He gave me task to, Mike, you have to lead the team, you have to be an example, you know, you're an experienced player, you have got to push the kids to play, and I had to do that as well. And I want to say that these boys were really, really nice to me as well, because they were always supporting, you know. They were always pushing me, Mike, you know, you have to come, you have to go, you have to do this, you know. So I think it has been the best time of my career at Kcca.
You talked about your relationship with Coach Mike and him always telling you to push these boys. How important was you to this football club, especially with the young players? How important?
I knew my role, and I knew that I was the most experienced player that Kcca had. So all I had to do for the club was to push these boys, you know, to tell them that today we need to work extremely hard, you know, we need this game, the club need to win, you know, we have to write our names in the history of the club. And so basically I had to encourage them always and let them know that they are good enough to play for the club, they're good enough to play at the continent, they're good enough to go professional, they're good enough to play for Uganda Cranes. And this really inspired everybody, you know, that I was playing with, so that we can achieve as a team.
I will take you back to the Kcca Clubs Cup. You score against Mukura and also go and score in the semi-finals against Green Eagles. Very important goals. What did it mean to you as a footballer and also the club, waiting 41 years and then winning that trophy?
To me, playing in Kcca wasn't the first time. I'd played Kcca with Bunamwaya, I'd played Kcca with the Uganda Cranes, and it wasn't so important to me scoring these goals, but I knew that it was too important for the club to win. So whenever I could go on the field of play, I had this in mind, that the club has gone 40 years without winning this trophy, you know, this tournament. So Mike, you have to go on, you have to do the best for the club, you have to write your name in the history book of the club. And that was the one that was pushing me always. And I was so happy that we really achieved. And myself, I had paid myself off by winning this tournament, and the club as well.
Wow, kudos to you. Just at your time at Kcca Fc, what has been your best moment, call it your greatest moment ever at Kcca for the 2 years?
Actually, my best moment with the club is winning the Kcca tournament.
Wow, why?
Because I personally had never won this tournament, you know, and as a club, I knew, no, as a player, I knew what the club really wanted, you know. It had gone a long time, so it makes winning the tournament very special to me and very special to the club. That's why it is my biggest moment.
Wow. And your best goal, because you scored a lot of goals at the club, your best goal, and against which team was that goal?
The most important goal I scored for Kcca was against Vipers.
Wow.
That was the equalizer, and immediately after scoring that goal, I got injured and I was taken off.
I also remember you didn't celebrate that one. Why? Why didn't you celebrate?
Because I didn't celebrate because I grew up playing for Vipers. That was formerly Bunamwaya, you know, it was like a mother club. So I couldn't celebrate that much, but deep inside myself, I was so happy. I think I was the happiest that day, having scored that goal and maybe hoping the team to win the league.
And I saw how much that goal meant to even walking off. You really didn't want, but because of the injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what has been your worst moment at the club?
My worst moment was not qualifying for the group stages of the Champions League at Lugogo when we did we draw with Petro?
Yeah, Petro.
That was my worst moment, because I knew we had the potential to win these guys, and we did whatever we could. The club, made all possible arrangements so that we can win the game. But maybe God never wished us to continue further.
Wow. Who has been that player that has been your closest ally? Should I say your best friend at the club, and why that player?
Everyone has been my friend at the club. I won't say I had best or I had worst, but everyone was my friend. But one player stands out among all of them, and that was Gift Ali. Because we used to share the same rooms. We used to always stay together and advise each other and pray together. So he has been my best player.
Speaking about Gift, you've played together before. That was back then at KKL. Does that also explain why you've been close to him?
It is not that, but I myself am a disciplined player, and I always like staying around with a disciplined person. And among the best disciplined player Kcca is having or as go is Gift Ali, and that was the reason why I had to surround myself with him, because he gives respect to everybody, and he's composed. He knows what he has to do for the club. He knows what to do at what time. That was the reason why I chose Gift among my best players.
Without doubt, we'll have Gift also in this show, and we'll also have these questions asked to him. And maybe just to take you back to your 15 years plus career, what has been your best moment in your 15 years and plus while playing football?
My best moment was the day I signed for El Marie. I come from a very humble background, and so when I signed this contract, I was really excited, because I got in some money, to help myself out and my family, my siblings, my wife. So this money meant a lot to me, and that is why I rank it as my best moment. But in football, when I was coming back to play, actually I would have spoke about this. I had the biggest challenge of my life when I came back from retirement recently. So many people were saying, you can't make it. I remember there's a certain game I came on and I was substituted because I'd gotten injured. So I went off, but people abused me, And when I went outside of the field, I had this in my head that, Mike, maybe you have not done enough. You need to do more. And there's a certain coach who once told me, you cannot play football anymore. You better go, don't waste your time. Better go back to your businesses and you continue with that. Leave football alone. I said, I said to myself, you guy, you've got to really work extremely hard.
And what are some of the things you told yourself when, for example, that coach, you've not mentioned that coach, you don't know who he is, but what are some of the things you told yourself that, hey, I want to get back and probably prove the doubters wrong?
I said to myself that I've got to work extremely hard. You have to go for road work. And some players in Ugandan football, they think that playing is easy. You just come on the field and play and go off and go home, you rest, you come back and play the next day. But it's not like that. If you want to achieve and become one of the greatest players, or the good players maybe in the country or abroad or wherever or internationally, you've got to sacrifice yourself first and foremost. Sacrifice your body, sacrifice your happiness and everything, so that you give it to the game. You go for road work in the morning, you have to go to the gym, you have to go and train with the club. So it takes a lot for a player to be one of the best.
Wow, Mike, as we wind up, now that Mike has officially retired from football, I think for the second time, right? What next for Mike Mutyaba?
I decided to join politics because football has built me to become a leader. I've always been a leader at the field, and I believe that I can be the people's voice due to the fact that football is a pressure game. So I'm used to all kind of pressure from whatever corners is coming from. So I joined politics, and I'm standing, or I'm aspiring to be an LOC 5 councillor at Kcca district, representing the people of Mutundwe parish. And I believe that I'm a transparent person, and leadership is just a calling. Leaders are never born, but they are self-made. So I believe I'll work for my people, if at all they put trust in me.
And I'm very sure your people do watch the Kcca Fc TV show and they have listened to this, and I'm very sure they will really vote into power. What do you bring, how do you bring football to the table when you get into politics?
You know, we have so many Ugandans have been oppressed in different ways. Mostly the sport has been oppressed. Fields are being sold off. You know, I personally grew up playing football because fields were available all over. But right now, you find a full sub-county with maybe one field or with none. And this is the biggest challenge we're facing as a country. We have no recreation centers where kids go and practice and play and do that. So that is where my main focus is, you know, on nurturing talents and, you know, so that is where I'll come in as a person to improve and trying to maintain that we have fields. And I urge to the government that the sport needs more support from the government. The sport cannot survive by itself. It needs the government, like it is done in Zambia, where I find every company has got a team of any sport they're sponsoring, and I think that can also help in Uganda as well, where we have so many companies, over 200. I don't know how many companies we have, but I think that would be the best I can do for my people.
Well, guys, now that has been Mike Mutyaba, 15 years plus playing football. Joined Kcca Fc 2 years ago and played for 2 years. He had a running contract, but he will not be continuing with Kcca Football Club because of medical reasons. We only wish him the very best. He's aspiring to get into politics, and we're very sure that his fans and his voters do watch the Kcca Fc TV show, and they'll vote for him. One thing I picked from Mike's submissions, he says one of the coaches in Uganda wrote him off when he was returning to football to play for Kcca FC, and then he said, watch me. And the only thing I picked from this is the only opinion that matters to you is the opinion you have about yourself. That has been it from Mike Mutyaba. We'll be going to a break, and when we return, we have Mister Bidandi Ssali on this show, and also we have other things on the Kcca Fc TV show. We are reliving a game. Don't miss this after this break. Now guys, welcome back from that break, and just like we told you, we have Mister himself on this show. That is a legend, Mister Bidandi Ssali, and he will be reliving some of the memories that happened back then. You know, you cannot speak about Kcca Football Club, or Kcca as most of you know it, from the past without speaking about Mister Colin Bidandi Ssali. And we were walking down memory lane with him in this one. He's going to be telling us how things were back then. This is what happened when we caught up with Mister himself.
Okusooka basically nali mwagazi wa mpiira. Ekyokubiri nali muzannyi wa mpiira nga ndi mu ssomero nga nenyakasula ne bwe nagenda Pakistan mu university nga ndi mu ttiimu ya university. Kakati bwe nkomawo kuno nemba nga nsula Naggulu wali mu estate, ate nga Kcca trainingira Lugogo. Kale kakati nesaali muntu wa mukyakaze mu mabaala, n'olwekyo ebiseera byange ebyolweggulo mbimalira awo okulaba Kcca bwegera kibwe traininga. Era okusooka na traininganga nabo nga nzannya nabo. Kakati okuzannya nabo nga nze ndi wa myaka mingi, ate nga tebaalina kugaa nti balina a paid coach, wabula balina coach, volunteer coach. Kwegamba nga bwe ngambye nga ebiseera byange ebisinga obungi ebyolweggulo nga mbeeraawo ku kisaawe timu ya Kcca ya trainingiranga ate nga naye okugamba ngiraki najja nabo munankani awo kati olw'okuba nti nno nali mukuluko ne experience ye nalina kugamba nentandikawa okuba training okubadusa bakozesa exercise biki n'okuba trainingira ddala nga ndi awo enaggulwa okutuusa kwegamba kiraabu lwe yankakasiza ddala okubeera kooki ate nga ndi team manager. Kale nearness ate n'okuba nti nali kansala mu biseera ebyo ne byegattira awo nenfuuka omuzanyi wa Kcca eventually nembeera coach. Okusooka byonna mu biseera ebyo Kcca enanga vote egiraki eyamba club nga club Kcca football club ate ne government mu ministry eyatwalanga ebyemizannyo yalina vote gye yawanga champion club mu mpaka international nankani kale kagamba nga tufuna financial assistance okuva mu Kcca ne okuva mu National Council of Sports mu ministry naye mu biseera ebyo bwe twalina bizinesi yaffe ne baganda bange ekintu musoke nekirunda kiva ejjinja kakati netubaako ne vote ewaffe mu kampuni yaffe gye twawanga buli mwezi nga tugiwa club naye nga tuwa ngeri ya allowance ey'abazannyi abali registered abakugamba registered players nga tubawa allowances buli mwezi so bebangattanga buno na buno nga bali bulungi ddala nnyo nga bali bulungi ddala ate nange kenyini nga kooki waabwe kugamba nga ngira ngoberera nnyo abazannyi embeera y'abazannyi baalidde kugamba nga sigamba nti baalidde bwe bakuŋŋaana ne balya naye nga kugamba ewaabwe ewuwe gy'asula yalidde atya ali atya nga ngezaako okufining out kubanga tojja kuddusa muzannyi mirundi emeka okola otya nga yalidde bujanjaalo na kawunga oluusi bwatyo kale nga nange personally nina engeri gye mbayambamu.
Now guys, you've heard it, that is Mr. Bidandi Ssali himself. Just like we told you, we shall be having more of these legends on this show. And for me, people like Mr. remind me of those days when we were young and grannies were telling you these stories, and then someone taps your shoulder or someone calls you from outside to come and do some of the chores at home. You didn't even want any of these things happening. You didn't even want anyone to cross your path when you're listening to these stories. We were not there in their days, but the good thing, we have the legends with us, and we'll be walking more of these memory lane moments with them. And just like we also told you on this very show, we are reliving one of the games from the 2018-2019 season. Remember, that is the season where we won our 13th Uganda Premier League title. And this very one, that was Kcca Fc vs Sports Club Vida at StarTimes Stadium, Lugogo. KCC walked into this one without its captain, and the maestro, call him the skipper, Dennis Timothy Awani. He was suspended. He had accumulated 3 yellow cards. And in that one, KCC also had 3 players that had been players at Sports Club Vida in the past season. That is Bernard Mwanga, the former captain, and then Alan Chambade, who is now playing for El Guna in Egypt, and also Nicolas Kasozi. They played in this game, and we're going to be reliving everything that happened in that game on this show. This is what happened when we played Sports Club Vida in 2018.
To the continuation of our live broadcast of match day 22 of the StarTimes Uganda Premier League, as 2 cross-city rivals, Kcca Fc.
Now this one started off quite well, and now in the 9th minute, Sports Club Vida almost did the unthinkable. Now their player Pius Wanji picks up the ball and makes a run, cuts in, leaves Musana for dead, that is a defender at Kcca Football Club, and tries on goal, but then Charles Lukwago was equal to the task and collected that ball well.
Mustafa Chiza. Attempt is on goal. Clearance not exactly convincing.
Michael, this young man is fast becoming one of the best dead ball specialists in Uganda. Look at that, a beautiful take, and it's indeed troubled Said Kenny.
Stature of this league, as we see a second successive corner for this KCC team, who hit the woodwork. Somehow the ball stays out. Another one into the area. That is capable of such situations, isn't it? Such moments.
Indeed, but for this man, Mike Mutyaba, will he ever score against SC Villa? In the first leg, I spoke about how he missed.
In the 42nd minute, Alan Chambade, a former Sports Club Villa player, took matters in his hands, performed a piercing run in the heart of the midfield for Sports Club Villa and released Mike Mutyaba. And you know what happened next? We broke the deadlock, and StarTimes Stadium almost had its roof fly off.
Mutyaba gives Kcca Fc a lead almost at the stroke of half-time.
And almost against the run of play. You thought Villa was having...
The game rested at 1-0 in favor of Kcca Fc, and after the break, in the 49th minute, a long ball from defense met Alan Chambade, who is a former SC Villa player, did some awesome holder play in the SC Villa box, picked a perfect time to tee up Mustafa Kiza, who made no mistake but rifled the ball in the back of the net, giving Saidi Kenny, the SC Villa keeper, no chance. The fans couldn't keep it at themselves.
But who on earth wouldn't be moved by such a beautiful left-footed take from this youngster? He's making only 2 years with the senior team. He's one of those who were promoted in February 2017. He has played, this should be his 32nd game for Kcca Fc this season. That is his 4th goal for the club, and 2 of those have come.
Now with 2 minutes to the hour mark, Obenchan's throw met Okello. Okello passed back to Obenchan. Obenchan played the ball to Poloto, and Poloto played the ball to Okello, who weaved through a forest of legs, that is for SC Villa players, passed the ball to Okello, whose cross deflected off a player from SC Villa, and then the ball met Okello again, who passed to Chambade and scored. Talk about a goal made from Kcca Football Club.
The moment they took the lead by 2-0, you knew they were going to open up and play their way. And this is their way. They are known for passing and passing. You can see they are passing. Look at the calmness with which Alan Chambade controls that ball. Who on earth in this world, a defender or a holding midfielder, lets a striker control the ball in your box like that? Have all the time to look up and press the ball like he was taking a penalty kick. Look at that, and the celebration says it all.
At the hour mark, Alan Okello made a very good run down the right flank, controlled the ball quite well in the box, and was brought down by Asuman Harishe, an SC Villa defender. The referee making no mistake but award Kcca Fc a penalty. And the young man Alan Okello stepped up to take the kick, Kenny guessed right, but he failed to save that one, and that was goal number 4, sending the fans into a frenzy.
2017 steps up.
And now Kellogg steps up and scores. Peter are getting a spanking. Sometimes it's important to lose ball games, or it doesn't matter to lose games. Overruns it.
In the 67th minute, SC Villa got a consolation in this one. That was from Charles Lwanga, who came on as a substitute, and then he was also doubling as a player in the Jogo Young team. He scored in that one, but right now Kcca FC have the player in their ranks.
Has come on for this Villa team, pouncing onto a ball that was filled by the goalkeeper, Charles Lukwago.
Well,
After Ambrose Syria whipped in this ball.
a rare ball, perhaps the best.
Big to Kajo.
In the 78th minute, it was Charles Lwanga again. He beat Oben Chan, dribbled past him, passed the ball to Pius Wangi, who tried to attempt on goal, but Charles Lukwago was equal to the task, and he blocked that ball only for Musa Hassan to clear.
Charles Lukwago had closed him already, and maybe thought if he had gone a bit bolder, he would maybe injure him or something, but
Now with 8 minutes to full time, SC Villa got a second goal. That was from Ambrose Kira from the edge of the box with a smashing hit to make it 2 for Villa and 4 for Kcca FC.
Just when we thought they were down and out, Charles Lukwago, after keeping some 5 clean sheets before conceding against Police FC consecutively, is now conceding for the 3rd successive game, conceded against Police, conceded.
And that has been it for this week. Remember, we had Mike Mutyaba hosted as a guest on the Kcca Fc TV show, telling us how life has been for the past 2 years, where he's been a Kcca Fc player, and also telling us that he will not be continuing with playing football because of medical reasons. We also had winners on this show, that is in the social media trivia. We had the fans speaking the fan zone about whether football is ready to resume, even with the available standard operating procedures. We had club news on this show, and we also had Mr. himself reliving some of the memories of back then and walking us down memory lane. And also we relived one of the games from the 2018-2019 season, that is Kcca FC vs Sports Club Villa. Plenty and plenty of top stuff on the Kcca Fc TV show, and we're going to be having more of this on the Kcca Fc TV show, that is in our subsequent shows. And just maybe to tell you something, next week on our 13th episode, we might have an unveiling for a player that is at Kcca FC. I don't want to act like I'm predicting anything, but stay glued and make sure you tune in every Sunday at 10 p.m. on Sanyuka TV. And my name is Magero Moses Mwanje. Have a good night.